Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Rich from Bards in the Basement. I was sitting there, I was listening to WebDM. They're talking about half-orcs, how cool half-orcs are, and we need more things with half-orcs. So I was like, hell yeah we do. We need more things with half-orcs. Imagine a world where half-orcs don't exist. Or very few of them do. Imagine that orcs and humans also get along. They've been trying for decades, for centuries, for millennia to interbreed, and it never happens. This child is a miracle. We need it. That's our character. Born of an orcish male and a human female. This child was born of magic. The mother had latent magical stuff going on inside of her. Something way back in her ancestry was draconic. And maybe that's why, when it was mixed in with the orcish blood, something happened. The mother dies, giving birth, or premature birth, as the child explodes out from the mother in just a raw force of magic. We are going to go folk hero for our background. He burst out in pure magical energy that said to me either one of two things: sorcerer or mystic. So we're going to make it a sorcerer. We already said our race is half-orc. For right now, he will be the chosen one. Sorcerer 1. Proficiency bonus at level 1 is always 2. Now I rolled some stats, and I have amazing stats. 2 16s, a 15, a 14, and 2 12s. There's literally nothing that this orc does wrong. Real quick, we're going to throw 16 in charisma. We're going to throw one of the 16s in con. You know what? This half-orc is pretty dexterous, but he's also pretty strong. And then his intelligence and his wisdom, just a little bit more than average. Just a tiny little bit. Okay, so half-orcs start with 2 increase to their strength and a constitution increase of 1. So, given that knowledge, we will bump that down to our 14 to give him a 16 strength, and then this will bump this back up to our 15. And that gives him an extra +1 in constitution, which isn't bad. These are really solid stats. Like, you can't ask for a character with better stats than this. This is just, it's so good. Orcs start out with a 30 walk speed. They start out with dark vision, which is always good. They have proficiency in the intimidation skill. And they start with the following 2 abilities. They start with relentless endurance and savage attacks. Now, relentless endurance. When you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead, and you can't use this feature until you finish a long rest, which is going to be good for somebody who's a sorcerer who's kind of squishy, not as squishy as he rightfully could be because his constitution's at 17, but you know what? Bam. Even if he goes down to 0 and not killed outright, drops down to 1. Savage attacks. This is where we're kind of losing something because we're not optimized. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you can roll one of the weapon's damage dice 1 additional time and add it to the extra damage of the critical hit. This doesn't help us because ideally, as the sorcerer, we won't be in melee. That being said, down the road, we might multi-class into a melee class. I'm not sure yet. Not sure where to want to take this character. But right now, we should probably do what I skipped and plug in our modifiers. As a half-orc, we start with the following languages. We can read and write Common and Orcish. So we're going to go ahead and add these down. So that's it for our orc part of this. What I like to do next, instead of going right into class, I go into the background first. I feel like if you go straight into your class, you could accidentally double up on some of your proficiencies. And not saying that power gaming is the best thing, but I feel like it's so wasted in this edition because you don't really get much of a chance to add more skills. So, very next thing, we're going to go to background. For our background, we've chosen folk hero. I feel it goes really well with the theme of the character. It's not that he's done a great deed, but he is just somebody very well known in his town. Everybody will turn in stare at him. They'll open up their homes. They'll treat him almost like a demigod, because there's literally been nobody like him. I will ask my DM if, instead of animal handling, if I can choose the athletics to borrow from his natural strength as a half-orc and the things that he would be doing. And I think survival is a good one for the other one. You know, he's learned some skills. He has that bringing. He's upbrought by his father, because his mother is no longer there, and his father was orcish and did the orcish things. I'm not saying in this world that orcs are like a traveling band of outlanders, but you know, I'm sure he still has to prove his strength to the people around town. We're not going to worry about our defining event, because we've already established it. So that will be written into our backstory. But right now we're going to go to personality traits. We're going to choose 2 personality traits. The first one's going to be number 5. I'm confident in my own abilities, and I do what I can to instill confidence in others. And the other one is, I get bored easily. When am I going to get on with my destiny? I know you might be thinking, wow, would he really be like this? I think so. Being raised, you know, it's kind of the opposite of Harry Potter. Harry Potter grew up away from the wizarding world. He had no idea he was famous. This half-orc knows he's famous. He knows he's a big deal. There's been nobody like him. So he's always been told, we expect great things from you. And now, you know what? Where's my great things? I think this might be a reason why he goes adventuring in the first place, is to try to find his destiny in the world. And that will echo in the ideal we pick, because we're going to pick number 6. Nothing and no one can steer me away from my destiny. As for the bond, I really don't like any of the ones that are presented here. Instead, I think I'm going to try to take one and tweak it a little bit to fit better. Number 1, I have a family, but I have no idea where they are. One day, I hope to see them again. I want to tweak that a bit, and to say something like, I want to know why I was born the way I was. I want to know why I'm so special. I need to figure out my ancestry. So finally, we have our flaw. I'm convinced of the significance of my destiny and blind to my shortcomings and the risk of failure. I think this goes so well with the theme. This orc has been beaten into him since he was a kid. You are going to do great things. And you know what? Maybe he's gotten a little confident. Maybe he's gotten a little cocky about it. Like, yeah, I am going to do great things. Look what I can do with my magic. I see him as a neutral good character. So the next thing we want to do is we want to jump in and we want to start plugging in our class. What we're going to do first is we're going to put in our hit die. We're starting at level 1. So we have 1d6 hit die, which is terrible. And we're going to figure out our hit points. It's 6 plus our Constitution modifier. Constitution modifiers are 3. We're starting out at 9 hit points. As for our proficiencies, we start with no armor. I'm not going to write that. The proficiencies we start with for weapons are daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. The saving throws he gets are Constitution and Charisma, which is really good because we bumped up those scores. And we get to choose 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. We already have Intimidation. I say we put these in Arcana and Persuasion. Persuasion because he's been around. He's rubbed elbows with the high of the high, the muckety muck his whole life. He's gotten pretty good at talking to people, and no doubt he's researched magic to find out where he's from, what he's doing, how he can control these things. So I think that with his inert ability is going to give him the leg up in Arcana. So now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and plug in these numbers. So strength, we're at a 3. Dexterity, we're at a 2. Con is our 3 plus our 2, so we're at 5. Intelligence is a 1. Wisdom is a 1. And charisma is another 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in real quick too. Okay, so now that we have all our skill numbers put in, now it's time for us to look at our starting equipment. As a sorcerer, we start out with a light crossbow. We start out with an arcane focus. We start out with an explorer's pack. And we start out with 2 daggers. In order to calculate our attack bonus, we take our dexterity modifier, which is a 2, and add it to our 2, giving us +4. Our damage type is 1d6 plus our dexterity modifier, which is a 2. Same thing for the daggers, except this is a 1d4 plus 2. Now, the very first class feature we get as a sorcerer is spellcasting. So, let's fill out this stuff now. We are a sorcerer. Our spellcasting ability is Charisma. Our spell save DC is 8 plus our Charisma modifier plus our proficiency bonus. So we have 8 plus 3 plus 2, giving us a 13, which is okay. We're only level 1. Our spell attack bonus is our Charisma modifier 3 plus our proficiency bonus, giving us a +5 for all our attack spells. At level 1, we're going to know 4 cantrips. We're going to know 2 spells. And we're going to have 2 first-level spell slots. So I put little indicators inside to show me how many I know. And now, we're going to pick some spells. So the very first spell we're going to take is Thunderclap. Then we're going to take Poison Spray. Then we're going to take Firebolt. And last, we're going to take Mold Earth. Sticking with the big, brutish type guy he is, I'm also going to give him Earth Tremor as a first-level spell. And one of my all-time favorite spells, Magic Missile. You'll rarely see me build a caster that doesn't have Magic Missile, if it's available to them. I love Magic Missile. I said earlier that I see him with a Draconic bloodline, just because I really like the Draconic origin sorcerer. So, the next thing we do is we put in the class feature for his sorcerer's origin. So, Dragon Ancestor. At first level, you choose one type of dragon as your ancestor. The damage type associated with each dragon is used by features you gain later. Now, for this one, we chose a green dragon. Green is poison. I see him using a lot of ground things, and I see him using a lot of poison things. It might affect our spells later, but for right now, I think the spells are pretty solid. So in addition, with this feature, you can speak, read, and write Draconic, and whenever you make a Charisma check while interacting with a dragon, your proficiency bonus is doubled if it applies to the check. So down here, we're going to add in Draconic. Last up for level 1 is Draconic Resilience. As magic flows through your body, it causes physical traits of your dragon ancestors to emerge. At first level, your hit point maximum increases by 1, and increases by 1 again whenever you gain a level in this class. This doesn't seem like much, but for a class that's really squishy like the Sorcerer, this brings us up to 10. Also, parts of your skin are covered by a thin sheen of dragon-like scales. When you aren't wearing armor, your AC equals 13 plus your dexterity modifier. This is huge. Huge, because as a sorcerer, you can't wear any armor. So armor class equals 13. Armor class is 15. We'll go ahead and throw in our initiative here. It's a +2. It's just your dexterity modifier. And last but not least, your passive perception is just your perception score +10. And there you have it. We have essentially created our Sorcerer 1 Half-Orc. A little bit unorthodox, but I really like the story. And hopefully you do too. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment if you want to see more. If I get enough likes or comments, I'll level them up. We'll go level 5, level 10, level 20, whatever you guys want to see. I'm Rich the Bard for Bards in the Basement, and we'll catch you next song.